All right, in honor of this man right here, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that is the only thing we are acknowledging and celebrating on this day, January 20th. He's in DC, so if you need a DC celebration, here you go. I want to offer this book that I highly recommend. It's an excellent book. And it is this, Alabama versus King, the criminal trial that launched the civil rights movement. You know I like to talk about trials. This book recounts Dr. King, who was indicted. After, of course, we know about the bus boycott, he was indicted, and this book retells his trial, and it is by his attorney, Fred Gray, along with Dan Abrams. And just to back up, so we all know that Sister Rosa Parks said, "I'm not doing this with y'all this day, today." She sat down on the bus. She didn't give up her seat. As a result, she was arrested and launched this boycott, right? So then Rosa Parks, along with Dr. King, they and some others got indicted. There were 89 indictments for having an illegal boycott, and that's what this book is about. All right, so when the indictments came, there were only 2 black attorneys in Alabama at that time, and one was Fred Gray, who you see right here laughing it up with Dr. King. He was 24 years old, just 24 years old, and he took on this case to defend those who were accused of having an illegal bus boycott, which of course included Dr. King. Now, if you're thinking, Fred Gray sounds familiar, it is because, like I said, he is a prominent civil rights attorney. He's in his 90s, still practices. But he was also the attorney for the case of Gamillion versus Lightfoot. Now, this in the picture is Professor Charles Gamillion, who was a professor at Tuskegee. He went to challenge this gerrymandering of the district that knocked all the black people out of it. So whereas before there was this nice square district that allowed all the black people, because there were more black people than white people in Tuskegee at that time, they rearranged it to this 28-side funky district that knocked all the black people out, and the Supreme Court eventually was like, absolutely not. That's Gamillion versus Lightfoot. I'll talk about that maybe another time. Anyway, back to Fred Gray, who wrote this incredible book. He recounts the stories, sort of the things that happened, the behind the scenes of how Dr. King responded to his house being blown up, the things that happened in the trial, the strategies behind it, how they even came for him. They tried to draft him into Vietnam to stop him. And he's a minister, and so they even took away some of his ministerial license. They just were coming for him. Of course, whenever you fight for injustice, that's what happens. Eventually, King is convicted, but somehow his conviction is a great loss to Alabama because it was a very public trial, national trial, and it was really kind of like a smack in the face for them. It's like this didn't go down the way you thought it was going to go down. Anyway, I still, even though I'm kind of telling you the details, you still have to read it. There's so many more wonderful nuggets in there. If you can get the Audible, I actually ended up listening to it on Audible, which was incredible too. That's great because they have an interview with Fred Gray at the end. Dan